have freedom, liberty, and independence, a true measure of value must be placed on work, goods, and trade. Without a true measure of value, a person can easily be exploited both in their pay and in the prices they are charged, placing their freedom, liberty, and independence out of reach. This is the story of the foundation of our world as it is and as it has been for much of our recorded history. That foundation is our money, our economy, our gold. To understand the problems with our money, you have to start with the basics: how much you are paid and how much you are charged. For example, if you were to go back to the days of bartering, and one man has a bushel of apples and the other some golden coins, how much gold is that bushel of apples worth? The answer here is a problem. It's worth whatever they think it is. On the other hand, a man agreeing to work for another would ask for pay relative to what they need to survive, or what they see as a typical wage for that job. These are perceived values, drawn upon conclusions based on concepts like how much they need to survive, how much they regularly see products selling for, how much the other person has, how much they can get away with paying or charging, or how much they are willing to settle for. In modern times, a simple philosophy has taken over. An item is worth whatever the customer is willing to pay for it. This easily leads to people being exploited, and has turned into a system where the customer is charged as much as possible and the employee paid as little as possible. Ideally, the free market system is supposed to keep prices in check, and competition is supposed to keep prices low. But all too easily this fails when companies grow large enough to control or influence the market, or even make deals with other companies to keep prices high. Even supply and demand can be controlled and exploited by those with the power to stem the flow of goods to keep demand high. And as far as pay goes, a person is paid first and foremost, no matter where they are in the world, based on cost of living, how much they need to live. Only after that are one's skills, experience, and type of job considered. So without a true measure of value on work, goods, and trade, man will never be free from those who wish to exploit them for the fruits of their own labors. And this is just the beginning of problems. The first problem we'll go over is job dependency and economic insecurity. When people are exploited for the fruits of their labors, they become stuck spending years just to pay for simple needs. As a result, they need to have jobs for years. This creates a problem from a government's perspective. If the government could perform a task more efficiently, but it meant less jobs for its citizens, then the government may decide to perform the task less efficiently simply to keep those jobs. Another example of this problem would be that if an invention was made that could power your home, your vehicle, or both using no fuel, the stability of our jobs and economies would be threatened. The government would be faced with an invention that would cost its citizens jobs and other problems I will explain later. In a situation like this, a government may be put in a situation where they felt that for the economic security of the nation, they need to suppress or bury the technology. This is also a problem with climate change. Any leader would have to weigh in one hand what needs to be done to protect the environment, and in the other hand, keeping its citizens employed and protecting its economy. This effect only gets worse when you add in the needs for retirement packages. Because the cost of basic needs have gotten so high, people need retirement packages so they can continue to pay their bills as they age past their ability to work. This causes the cost of goods to rise even higher, and of course causes the need for even more jobs. Sometimes government solutions only add to the problem. Sometimes the government may decide to add a service to a need in order to create more jobs, even if that service is pointless. And in the process, they have increased the cost of the product, resulting in the need for more jobs. All that is just a taste of the problems that come without a true measure of value on work, goods, and trade. It continues to be another problem when you see the way a country's currency is valued in the world market. A country's gross domestic product, or GDP, is a major part of how its currency's value is determined. Under the GDP system, a country must produce 2% or more GDP than the year before, or it is considered to be in a recession. If the country produces less than the year before, it is considered to be in a depression. Under this system, an invention that could produce free power would be a threat to the country's entire economy because it would lead to less GDP every year more than machines were sold. Under this system, if you were to build a house that could power itself, produce its own food, last 100 years, and be paid off in a matter of years instead of decades, then that house would also be a threat to the country's GDP and may be prevented, suppressed, or even buried. Under the GDP system, it does not matter how much we have. We still need to produce more each year. This system does not encourage stability. Instead, it encourages consumption. This system encourages products that fail after a short time, so they can be produced and purchased again as opposed to products that last. This system encourages products that do not work as well, so you have to produce and purchase more of them and use them more often. This system at its core encourages instability and inefficiency, and discourages stability and efficiency. These are just a few of the problems with the foundation of our world, and why we need a new foundation.